So how to start a startup, the first thing we have to address is the terminology of how to start a startup. And we have to address those things before we can really build upon this conversation so we can have continuity of thought and it can have some kind of clarity. Now, when we talk about how to start, we're not talking about how to build, not how to do the whole process, because the whole process is too extensive for a short video. So when we talk about a startup, what is a startup? What we have to understand is that a startup is an innovation-driven business, taking things and making it better, making it more advanced, revolutionizing an industry, revolutionizing a business. It's also something that can be scalable. When we talk about scalable, it can be wide-reaching, as in revenue, as in staff, as in opportunities, as in revenue streams, profitability. It has large potential. One of the critical elements is that it's fast growing. It has the ability to grow fast because more than likely when we're thinking about a startup, we found some kind of niche and we found some kind of industry where we can insert our particular business into that industry, and then we are able to make a fast approach or a fast attempt to generate revenue. Now, I'm not saying making money is a fast process because you started a startup. What we are saying is it has the potential to grow fast. Now we're going to talk about what a startup is not. A startup is not local. It's not something that's going to be reaching a 3-5 mile radius and that's it. Startup is not a simple service that a service provider provides. It's not solo entrepreneurship. A startup is not a small business. Small businesses represent things kind of like the mom and pops, the local eateries, the restaurants, the daycares, and it's not because the idea is small, but we're talking about the range of coverage that that business has potential to reach. Now, you can talk about franchising and things of that nature, but that's a whole nother conversation. But what this talking about is not a small business, it's not local, it's not a simple service that a single service provider provides. It is not solo entrepreneurship, and it is not because we are starting a business, we are a startup business. So to understand where to start with a startup, now we have to understand where we at in the span of time of our business. Have we been established already? Have we been out for 3 months, 6 months selling a product, or do we have an idea or concept? Because those are two different forks in the road. If you have a product or a service that is already selling, then you should have sales data and information that comes in as a result of those sales, clientele, traction, things of that nature. But if you have not had that, then you go to the other side of the fork, which you would have assumptions, hypotheses, ideas, thoughts, theories about what the business could be, who it could be for, what problems we could solve, and what route we can take to make sure that we are a profitable business. So on one side, if we have the product and the services already done, what we're trying to find out is, do we have to redefine or redevelop the product to make it more of a tailored fit to our target audience or to our already established clientele? On the other side, we have assumptions. So before we design the product, again, we split it in half. We said, do we already have established clientele that purchases products or services, or are we coming from scratch? Do we have a brand new assumption of who would buy what particular products and services because they're suffering from certain pains, problems, certain ailments, certain things that are lacking inside the industry? This is the route that we would take, and that means we have assumptions, hypotheticals. Can we create something that we can bring to that particular market of people and suggest to those people that this is their solution, and they agree with us to the point where they'll pre-order? The idea with the startup is to build sales before you build the company. The company revolves around sales. No matter what nobody else tell you, I don't care if they tell you marketing, if they tell you branding, those slow dripping of sales is not a sales process. A company truly has to revolve around a sales funnel and a sales process, a guaranteed way to make sales. So if you are creating a new concept, the idea is to sell the product before we make the product. The idea is to create some kind of awareness to that audience through having maybe a case study, or maybe a sit down and having a customer interview process. Maybe we want to go out into a mall and say, try our prototype. There's different ways that we can make a cost efficient example or some kind of literature or diagram to test it against the market, that the market may say, I think that I would invest in this product. If we can make it right, we can try to sell on the spot. If we cannot make it right, then we have to say, well, let us go back to the drawing board. Let us tweak a few ideas. Let us add some of those ideas you have. Let us see if this theory is actually viable. Is this something or feasible that we can actually accomplish? And then we come back to that market and say, hey, look, this is what we have to offer, and we're trying to sell it. Now, I know I went all around the board, so to sum it up, if you want to know what I'm talking about, first, you have to understand what a startup is. Second, you have to make a decision what you want to build. So the first thing was, what is a startup? We're starting this at the beginning point. We're laying a foundation. What is it that we want to build? We want to build something that's using innovation. It's going to be a company that's potentially national, at least regional, maybe even global. If I'm lucky, I can build it that way. It can scale. It can grow fast. It can actually generate millions of dollars because of the type of potential that we are working with. Now, one of the key elements about having that potential is the fact that we're using technology. Technology gives us the ability to tear down the walls from different countries that would say normally you have to have distribution channels and meet wholesalers or distributors in that region to sell your product. Now the World Wide Web or applications allow us to tear down those walls. So with that said, a startup is not an application. A startup is not a website. A startup is not because it's technology. A startup is a position that a company is in as it's trying to find a permanent business model, or at least a profitable one for the times that we are in. And if you understand that, it's a way that we are approaching building businesses, and it's not a type of business. It is not a product. It is a way that you are approaching building a business. So a startup approach is different from a small business approach. So the first thing, understand what you're starting, understand what type of business you're starting, understand what type of level you want to get to, understand, do you have a product or a service that's already selling? If not, then we're starting from scratch. There are ideas, there are concepts. This is all theoretical until we bring it to a hypothetical market and try to make sure the product fits the market and push our idea on the market till the market either redefines the product or purchase the product, or maybe both. And when that happens, then what we want to do is put the product on the market, generate sales. And once we can generate sales, now we have a business that we have created, and we are able to build the sales before we build a company. So if you want to know more about that, I hope I didn't confuse anybody. I hope that information is impactful and something that you will want to hear about. I stretch these topics out greater on Proceed Startup Society, our website. You can check with the links that's maybe listed at the bottom or maybe somewhere flashing in this video, and you can get the 4-stage startup guide where I go over the 4 exact stages that you need to be in, not steps, but stages, because it's a whole process. We want to go through the process, and the best way to go through the process is having a systematic approach to it, and you're having the information defined so that way you can progress at a faster pace. Invest in yourself, invest in your education. If you plan on building a multi-million-dollar business, a multi-million-dollar opportunity for you, yourself, for your legacy, for your family, for you and your partners, then you have to have the proper education. So download the 4-stage startup guide by going to that actual link and get that startup guide. That is at cost. Whatever the cost is, going to be very low, very affordable, but invest in yourself and make your dreams come true by having the proper steps and procedures. My name is Cash Parrish. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. If I did, leave me a comment, get in my inbox, DM me. You can find me on Facebook as well, and you can have a direct message conversation with me or Proceed Society on Facebook. My name is Cash Parrish. Y'all stay cool. Be blessed.